Kingdom Come Deliverance. The true medieval video game with no dragons or magic, but somehow still about 10 times more tough. A game where you're not born a hero, but in fact you're the exact opposite. Having to work yourself up from being a pathetic peasant into someone who's actually respected within the very heart of old Bohemia's harsh society. Kingdom Come is one of the biggest open world RPGs out there, and is one of the best ones in the gaming market. Is what others seem to claim. You see, I've never really played Kingdom Come Deliverance, and while it's about to celebrate its 7th birthday soon, which is fucking dreadful just thinking about it, it's still not managed to get out of my endless well, which is my backlog of games that I still have yet to play. And with its long-awaited and incredibly hyped sequel being just around the corner, I thought this would be the perfect time to give this game another try. Now, hold on, what do you mean, another try? Didn't you just say you haven't played the game at all? Are you a fraud and a liar? Well, what I said about not playing Kingdom Come is only about halfway true. The thing is, I did play the game about 5 years ago for about 4 hours. I got it for free, so I said I'd give it a go. I installed it, launched it, skipped through every cutscene with no intent to pay attention to the game's story or tutorials, complained about combat being hard, then rage quit a bit after the tutorial, and never touched the game again, just about representing the worst example of a gamer one could be. So we might as well chalk it down as me never playing the game before, because there's no way I could actually salvage any useful information out of whatever that abomination of a playthrough was. There is, however, one thing that I remember, and a thing that inevitably broke the 5-year younger foolish me. The tournament. It was the tournament that led to my breaking point. Wanting to rush the game as fast as possible, I was met with the most predictable fate of getting absolutely hammered and bullied to a point of quitting the game and returning to my peasant life. This time, however, things are different. The sequel is almost here, and with the time that I have left, I'm not entirely sure that I can finish the first one on time. So, I've given myself a different goal to achieve: to return to Bohemia as a slightly older young buck, reformed and ready for any challenge, and to finally win my first ever tournament in Kingdom Come Deliverance. So, how did it go? And what do I think of the game now? Well, here is the tale of how I won my first ever tournament in Rattay. My journey started off in Skalitz. After a cinematic shot of the Bohemian nature and a quick look at slave labor in the silver mines, I was placed in the shoes of Henry, the son of a local blacksmith who's a complete moron and also unemployed, which are both very relatable, and so I found myself immersed quite quickly. I picked strength and vitality as my stats, as I'm not going to win a tournament with pure insults, although I wish I could. I talked to my father, accepted his quest, then went on my merry way to collect what is due. My first stop was at Kunesh. Being the ruffian that I am, I skipped trying to sweet talk the local drunk and beat the shit out of him instead. I picked up his nails, hammer and axe, collected the coal from the local trader, and then met my friends. I agreed to help my friends bully our neighbor just because he's German by throwing a bunch of shit on his newly painted wall. This made me question who really is the winner here, as I had to be the one to pick up all the shit from the ground, but then I realized I could not only beat up the German and his friends, but also smear all the shit all over their faces with my disgusting dung-ridden hands, which made me justify just about everything that I've done so far. I then visited my girlfriend and manipulated her using our blooming romance to get a free beer for my dad, and went back. I helped my dad craft a sword for Sir Radzik, who somehow snuck up on us with an entire platoon of soldiers and armored horses, and then showed my utter incompetence like the true unemployed Sigma wolf that I am. Soon after that, an evil bald man attacked our home turf and killed everybody, including my whole family. After standing around like an idiot and wasting my only opportunity of safety, I was told to sneak out the back and run away. Now, at first, I kind of forgot that I was supposed to flee, as in run the fuck away, as I found myself stun-locked by the beautiful view while the deadly screams of my neighbors accompanied me in the background. Thankfully, not for me though, someone was tired of my shit and spawned a Cuman warrior who beat the shit out of me in mere seconds. Oh shit, what the fuck? Oh, whoa, chill. So, yeah, I died in the tutorial. I then died again by getting stuck in a haystack. And then again, by being thrown off a horse and brutally slaughtered for the third time. Thankfully, on my fourth attempt, I finally managed to successfully mount up and escape the Cuman invasion alive, while at the same time saving Theresa from the invaders. I made it to Talmberg, got healed, trauma dumped a random lady, and met Radzik again, who's also managed to escape. They've then decided to hold me hostage within Talmberg's walls, so I don't try anything stupid. They were kinda correct, as Henry really felt the need to bury his parents the second the invasion was off, while his home was infested with bandits. I love being able to defy authority though, and so I've decided to jump down the bridge and run away, breaking my legs in the process. A guard immediately snuck up on me and took me back to the castle, so I've devised a new plan on jumping down from the bridge with my horse instead for extra speed, breaking its legs instead. I made it back to Skalitz, drew first blood on my first victim. Take that, you fucking... and went to see my parents. I met Zbyszek along the way. He had a shovel that I needed for the burial, so being the good neighbor that I am, I chased him away with a sword. Hey, what happens in Skalitz stays in Skalitz.
That's right.
Where you running, buddy? To my utter disbelief, however, Zbyszek countered me with a hit squad with over 10 million power, led by another evil bald man who broke all the bones in my body and took my sword. A few days later, I woke up in a mill below Rattay and was immediately hit with a health insurance debt by the miller who was taking care of me for 2 weeks. Thankfully, the miller Peshek doesn't really have a clean slate himself, so he struck a deal that I'd steal a ring from him instead. I went over to the executioner's place, defiled the grave in front of God's very gaze, and robbed the dead just to realize that the ring is gone.
Fucking hell. How did I get landed with a cretin like you?
Peshek told me about a locked chest in his house that might have the ring. I took a few lockpicks, practiced lockpicking until the lock completely gave out on me, then headed over to the executioner for round 2. The executioner's dogs are complete ass at spotting danger, so I managed to sneak right through them to his bedroom and steal everything from his chest, including the ring. Oh, now at this point, the intro to the game was pretty much over, and thanks to my unfortunate fate of everyone dying that I loved, I've been brought right at the doorstep to Rattay, which meant that I was one step closer to my real objective. But before I could attend the tournament, there was one more thing in my way. You see, I am but a mere peasant, and I can barely hold a wooden spoon, let alone a whole-ass sword. So I first needed to train so I can raise my chances of coming out victorious in the tournament, and that meant that I had to make some sacrifices. Because Peshek wanted me to deliver the ring to someone far away from Rattay, I had to postpone my delivery service in order to get closer to the tournament itself and thus begin my training. I made my way over to the city in order to speak with Sir Radzik. I persuaded the guard at the gate to let me in, was given shit for walking around at night without a torch, then went on my merry way to knock on the door of the most renowned lords in the city without an invite.
He was after our silver.
What are you doing? You've no business here. Clear off.
I managed to convince them that I'm not completely useless and have been allowed to train with one of their knights. After around 5 minutes of basic training, we were interrupted by Hans, who's shown disgust in my peasantry, then left without elaborating. We finished the training lesson, then proceeded onto the shooting range, where I quickly learned that archery was not for me.
Don't forget the arm guard. Once you've mastered the bow a bit, you won't need it anymore.
Shut up, dumbass! That is until Hans Kopan challenged me to a duel. Somehow, I completely locked in and devastated this noble pissbag like I owned the place, then took his bow as a part of our deal. Sir Hans obviously wasn't too happy with the outcome, so he's challenged me to another duel, this time in sword fighting, to try and even the odds. Once again, I won against Hans without even breaking a sweat, with which I've concluded my first day of training. After being told to fuck off for the day, I had one more thing to do. I went on to visit the city's bailiff and volunteered myself to help out. I picked up my gear, talked to Nightingale, and started my first guard duty. After walking around for about 20 minutes with about the same pace as the speed at which I make new videos, our guard duty was done and I was told to close the inn for the day. That is when I ran into Hans for the third time, this time challenging me to a duel in drunken fist fighting. Unfortunately, my upcoming third undefeated victory was soon halted by Hanush and his men, who gave me a lot of shit for bullying the local noble boy and assigned me for a hunting session with Hans next morning as a mutual punishment. Tournament was starting soon, however, and so I've decided to put my training first and let Hans to his own fate for the time being. I'm not kidding when I say that for the next 2 real-life hours I've been nothing but leveling my sword fighting skills in the training grounds. And the only reason I really stopped is because I wasn't going to risk dying of hunger and not saving first. This was the first time in the game that I felt a little frustrated, as the combat really did kick my ass, even during training. In fact, even after making this video, I'm still not entirely sure whether I understand the mechanics behind the combat. The controls sometimes just feel unresponsive, or like the combos or hits that I was supposed to land simply don't. Even when I was a few levels higher, it felt less like I knew how to fight better, but more that the higher my level was, the more the dice rolled in my favor for me to successfully land my attack, if that makes any sense. So if by chance there is someone who's a bit of a KCD nerd, feel free to give me more insight about the combat. But what I do know for sure, however, is that the longer I fought, the better it felt. And trust me, the feeling of all your fighting capabilities getting better in live action is one of the best feelings I've had in gaming. Usually in other games, a simple level increase means that you just do more damage, or can unlock that one skill that does something extra or fancy. And while the skill part is in the game too, leveling does genuinely feel like Henry is simply just capable of more. You'll see yourself being able to dodge more attacks, successfully block incoming hits, and land your own, and in turn also turn your prior frustration into a genuinely good dopamine hit. So in case you were like me before, and you dropped the game due to not being able to really handle the combat, please give the game another go. It really is worth giving it another try, and only after getting past those pesky few hours of annoyance is where the game really unlocks for you. After my dreadful 2 hours of training, I took a nap and refilled my hunger bar, only to realize that I've missed out on the tournament by just about 2 hours. I wonder what happened. And just like that, I had another week to prepare. I wanted to practice my sword fighting skills against a real opponent, and so I picked up a bounty from Captain Bernard to collect ears from nearby bandits and headed over there. That is where I realized my hidden talent. Come here, idiot.
The pig turns up willingly for the slaughter.
Wait, are they afraid? Damn! I got another headshot! Dude, I'm a god. Somehow, I didn't even put much of my sword fighting skills to use, as I simply just bullseyed the whole camp. Now, this all sounds cool and all, but I'm not gonna pretend like I did this first try, because originally I just got absolutely butchered and had to walk back all the way from Rattay just to do the same thing. I took their ears, took their horse, quickly learned the harsh truth about not being able to keep it, then met with Hans for our hunting session. We found our spot and waited until the morning to initiate our hunt. I woke up a little early to steal all the food from the chest before Hans woke up, then waited for him so that we could start. Little did he know I used this hunt as an excuse to finally get my third back-to-back undefeated victory over him, so the second our hunting session competition was on, I rushed into the forest to hunt as many rabbits as I could. After taking down a solid 24 rabbits, I skipped time and met with Hans to claim my petty reward. When we tried to hunt a boar, which failed miserably and somehow ended up in Hans being captured by the Cumans, I finally put my skills to use by absolutely decimating these noobs, then untied Hans and took him back home. For saving Hans's life, I've been finally promoted from a peasant to a human and given the role of being Sir Radzig's right-hand man. I got my first horse, went on to investigate a terrible murder, accidentally killed a guard patrol while trying to help them with a bandit ambush, got completely beat up by another bandit ambush on my way home, then made it to Rattay for my final preparations. There might be an ongoing mass murder investigation, but the tournament is my priority, and so they'll have to wait. There was no time to waste, and I wasn't going to miss the tournament the second time, so I showed up about 6 hours early. It was finally time to enter the tournament. When the tournament began, I picked my favorite weapon to spar with and entered the ring. My first opponent was Zdeněk. While fighting him wasn't that difficult, our longsword fight was surprisingly quite long until I finally bested him in combat. In round 2, we dueled with a shield and sword, and while I never trained with such a weapon combination, I quickly realized that I wasn't half as bad with them either. But no matter how I tried, I simply couldn't land a single hit on him until I somehow executed a perfect block and hit him for all his health. My second opponent was Michał. This guy immediately proved to be way more aggressive and difficult to fight, which made me way less confident in my ability to win the tournament. I didn't know what to do, as I kept getting shoved around and hit pretty consistently, so I went full defensive and mostly just countered all his attacks until he lost, which surprisingly worked quite well. On our second round, I somehow beat him way faster than with longswords, using the same exact counterattack strategy that one-shot Zdeněk from the first fight, taking half of his health, then finishing him with smaller strikes. For my last opponent, I was getting a little nervous. For our longsword fight, it was a fairly balanced match. Both of us have managed to land a few hits, and it was quite indecisive. I've quickly realized that using the same defensive strategy from before worked pretty well for this guy too, however, so I took him down bit by bit and won the first round. On the second round, however, things got a bit rough. Not only did he get way more aggressive, but his skills with sword and shield seemed to be way better than mine. I kept getting pushed around and hit, sometimes without the ability to block. I surely thought it was over. I was dying and getting hit consistently, pushed around like a little baby, until the very last moment where all of a sudden I used the exact same counterattack as from both of my previous duels and drained his entire health bar in a single move. I was caught so off guard by that attack that it took me a solid 5 seconds to realize it was over. Oh, wait, I got him! Wait, that was it? Wait, he had no health? I did it! I did it! I actually won! It's over. 6-year younger me, you're a pussy. And just like that, my objective was finally complete. I finally won my first ever tournament. But my success did not just come with winning the tournament, as I feel like I've succeeded at way more than I first wanted to. I did not only succeed at the tournament, but also succeeded at giving this game another fair try. And man, am I glad. Giving it another go has helped me appreciate this game in more ways than I expected, and I can't wait to go back to it already. The cutscenes, the absolutely incredible music, the visible improvement in Henry's combat, as well as the actors' performances, among many other things, deserved way more credit than I initially thought it deserved all those years before. My initial plan was to stop right here, after the tournament was done, but at this point, I'm almost certain I'll be done with the game's main story until the second one comes knocking on my door and my incredibly light wallet. Whether you haven't played the game yet, gave up on it for whatever reason, or maybe if you're just looking for another reason to play your 19th playthrough of this game, it really is worth giving it a go. I personally prefer a little bit of magic and mysticism to my games, but Kingdom Come's immersive purity in this regard has helped me appreciate it in other many different ways, for which I couldn't appreciate the others. Either way, that's it from me. If you got this far, thanks for watching. And if you have played KCD yourself, let me know what your favorite part about the game is. Take care everyone, and goodbye.